Fritzy, how are we doing with Mike? Is Mike going to be able to join us there?
Todd said right now we could give it a try.
All right, let's give it a try. I think our first guest we've ever had on from Italy, Mike Piazza, the Hall of Famer. Where are you in Italy?
I am in Parma, Italy, in the north. Yes, like Parmigiano Reggiano, Parma ham.
How is your Italian?
It's good enough. It's good enough if I want to get fed, and if I want to get if I want to get a ticket or need a coffee or ask for directions. I would say it's plus conversational, higher than conversational, but not quite fluent. Enough to get around and survive.
All right. If I ask you to pronounce mozzarella, how would you pronounce that?
Mozzarella.
Okay.
Bufala mozzarella.
Okay. All right. I want to judge. Would you judge Seaton's Italian? Now, he's not Italian. He's Irish, but he's working on his Italian. His wife's Italian. All right, Seaton, go ahead.
Mozzarella.
Mozzarella. Mozzarella. It's mozzarella. Yeah, a lot of people, it's funny. I've learned that the American version of Italian food is pretty funny. There's actually been a lot of YouTube videos and people talking about pronunciation. Yeah, but if you try to say, you come here and you say mozzarella, you won't get served. If they say bufala, yeah, they'll be like, yeah, bufala mozzarella. Mozzarella.
Is there an Olive Garden in Parma?
I don't think so. I think if they opened an Olive Garden here, it probably wouldn't do pretty well. To be kind, because I did make we made our minor league checks stretch very long on the free breadsticks and the salad, but in Italy, I don't think it would do well. Although they do have a Starbucks here now in Milan, which a lot of people said Starbucks wouldn't survive here, but it's not your typical Starbucks. It's very, very high end. So I imagine they have to up the quality a little.
Are you full-time Italian resident?
Yes, I have 2 passports, and my kids have been in school here about 4 years. The COVID year obviously was very difficult for everybody, but yeah, I mean, it's just something my wife and I wanted to do completely different and just kind of change the culture. And they're very fluent in Italian. I'm actually taking my kid to soccer practice tonight after we get off. So he's playing soccer. He scored a goal the other day, which is kind of cool. He's not really a striker. He's kind of a skilled midfielder who follows up the play. So it's a great experience for him. And now that things are getting back to normal, it's a little easier to go back and forth.
He's one of the great catchers of all time, 12-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, Mike Piazza, joining us from Parma. We wanted to have you on to talk about the technology that we're seeing baseball introduce with catchers here that apparently trying to cut down on sign stealing. Your thoughts on, is it an overreaction?
Slightly. I did see that new device in spring training. I was in Mets camp a while ago, I think a little less than 2 weeks ago, and I saw that new device that they're putting in the ear and the catcher and the second baseman and shortstop and pitcher, obviously. A lot of pitchers, I didn't know what was coming anyway. I just kind of said, I'm better look fastball and adjust to anything else. I think it's a shame that sign stealing controversy did happen. I didn't think it was very. It just wasn't part of the game, and unfortunately, the game has not been able to police itself like in the years past. And guys are, I think, a little bit now very overreacting, a little sensitive to it. I don't really think it's rocket science. I think as a hitter, I guessed more on location than actual pitch. But since hitters now, I think, are really guessing, or since there's less of an emphasis on strikeouts, the guys are swinging harder with 2 strikes. So they kind of are trying to it's more of a problem, I guess, than it was in the past. But, I'm all for technology. The game has changed. I feel a little bit like a dinosaur, and I think it's interesting. I think it could be a place, but my whole thing is too, that if it is an electronic device, maybe that could be hacked or compromised as well. So, I was saying, if we could hear it through some sort of radio wave or something, then the other side could probably hear it too, if they really wanted to. So that presents another issue of problems, obviously.
Yeah, I just wondered about, sign stealing is part of the game, like just actual looking in to see what, location or fastball, curveball, whatever. You consider that part of the game?
Well, I would say part of the game, but also disguising it as part of the game. And then if you felt like the guy was overtly flaunting,
Oh,
relaying it to the hitter, then obviously I've had a few conversations where catchers told me, "Is he telling you the signs?" Because it could be very
yeah.
dangerous. But since that is not no longer, it's frowned upon, obviously, and maybe it's for the better, for the worse. I don't know. I mean, I'm more of a traditional guy. I always felt like those things were naturally policed. And then there was some pitchers. I mean, like Oral Hershiser during his stretch in 1988, I believe, when they won the World Series. You're probably going to get a sinker. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a big mystery. You were probably going to get a sinker, and especially with Maddox as well. I mean, I think the location part was probably more of something, at least for me. If I knew the guy was coming inside, he probably wasn't going to come inside with a changeup. It was probably going to be something pretty firm. So if I knew that, I kind of already had more or less 50% of my guessing kind of eliminated.
Did you have a pitcher who tipped his pitches?
Yeah, I think also another problem that hasn't been addressed. Where Eric Harros, who we've talked about before, was amazing at in the stretch when the pitcher had his hand up. They sometimes would dig for a certain pitch, like if a guy was going for a slider, he would rotate his wrists, and
No.
Karros would go to me after the second inning and he would say, "Do you want the pitches?" And I would say, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And he would say, "Dude, fastball, curveball, or fastball changeup, or fastball split." And he and Robbie Alomar were two guys that I remember distinctly would have the pitches. And then with the advent of free agency, we actually found out that some of our pitchers who knew guys on the other team were telling them that, "Oh, they have your pitches in the stretch," because again, if guy went for a changeup, he would dig, or you would see his hand, manipulate the ball a little bit differently. So that was a problem as well. Some guys were overtly obvious about it. Even guys on their own team could sometimes see it.
And also telling a pitcher. I remember Mark Grace told me that they realized Randy Johnson was tipping his pitches, and nobody wanted to tell Randy that he was tipping. Like, they were always worried about Randy getting mad, but they were in fear of him, and they were teammates. But they didn't want to tell, especially on the days that he was pitching, because Randy was a different animal those days.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. My daughter's young. Just a second, honey. I'm on the I'm having an interview. Good Lord, sorry about that. She's like, "Dad." I'm like, "I'm doing an interview."
How old is she?
She's 12.
Oh,
She's 12,
okay.
But yeah.
Yell at her in Italian, Mike.
Yeah. I'm saying, "Dai, chi fai? Visto. I'm on an interview here. Say hi." No, she's shy. "Mamma mia, chi fai?" Allora.
Oh, parenthood.
I sat here for 2 hours. There wasn't a peep, and then we go on the phone, and all of a sudden people just come running in. Anyway, the part about Randy. No, Randy was an intimidating guy. And just to finish your thought on him, but yeah, and I could see I would be scared too if I was catching him, because he'd probably get mad at me, or at least feel like I was doing something to tip his pitches, which obviously wasn't the case.
Take us back to the Baywatch performance. You're on the Dodgers. You're wearing your jersey and your hat. And you're swinging a bat on the beach. So how do they pitch that to you, Mike?
Well, actually, that was right after the strike occurred, and it was September. And Eric Karros and I were kind of getting delirious, and we didn't really know if we were going to go back to play, if there was going to be a World Series. Obviously, the World Series didn't happen that year, which was a tragedy in itself. But I mean, I just kind of didn't take myself too seriously. It was just out of fun. I knew it was going to come across a little bit corny, but I just figured, what, I'm in LA, and I thought it would be cute. And I didn't realize in this day and age, and back then there was no social media. I mean, we had the brick phones, you know what I mean? It was like we had the analyzed. So I'm like thinking, oh, no one's ever going to see this again. It's just going to go into the dustbin of history. And now, even today with social media, you mentioned it now. It gets mentioned all the time. So I tell people, when you do something that you may or may not regret, it does stay with you for a very long time.
And you did help save that woman who was in the water and needed rescue. You and Pam Anderson did protect her.
I did. She was very, yeah, I felt like I was doing a good deed. And yeah, helping a young lady and a very attractive young lady in a bikini, drowning in 2 feet of water. It was, yeah. So tell people all the time. It's hard work, but somebody has to do it.
I just love the shot of you. You're so serious. You're taking your cuts, and Pam Anderson is saying, "Hey, you can't be swinging a bat on the beach." And then I'm Mike Piazza, and then she's like, "Okay, just don't hit anybody." And then that's when you had to go to the rescue of this poor woman in distress in the ocean. I mean, it's a remarkable. Did you get any awards for that? Oh, we're on a freeze up there. Maybe it's best that we leave it at that.
Leave it a mystery.
Yes, you got to leave the mystery. Mike, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.